Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And it's Rob Zombie time. While I already covered House of a Thousand Corpses, and the man's Halloween entries, of course, one of his works that has a relatively good reputation would be the 2005 follow-up to 2003's House of 1000 Corpses, The Devil's Rejects. Yeah, follow-up. Sequel is a bit strong of a word to use. While there are characters and events that carry over from one movie to the other, there are also some pretty major ones that just don't come up in the slightest, like Dr. Satan. Guess he wasn't that important after all. What is important is that a little over 6 months after the events of House of a Thousand Corpses, the Ruxville police have had enough and raid the Firefly home. However, several of them manage to escape, and the movie turns into a little Bonnie and Clyde-inspired adventure. If Bonnie and Clyde were depraved, sadistic serial killers with dialogue written by, Rob Zombie. So, let's take a look at The Devil's Rejects and see just what in the hell that looks like. We open up to... Oh, sweet Jesus! Okay, maybe we aren't going to be seeing exactly what that looks like. It's kind of hard when the movie opens with a screen full of pictures of mutilated, naked women. Aside from the naked dead girls, we get some walls of text explaining the scene we're about to watch, that the police are coming for the bad guys, henceforth known as the Devil's Rejects. Except they aren't getting tiny today. He's out in the woods with his naked dead woman, of course, and he's still played by Matthew McGrory, and he's not important right now, so the police drive right on past him so they can get into the raid, led by George Weidell's brother, Sheriff John Weidell. He also quells the concerns of Officer Ray Dobson, played by Dave Sheridan.
So you think we're gonna die here today?
Dying's not an option.
Our movie, Rob Zombie, got sent back to the MPAA over half a dozen times to try and bring the rating down to just an R. Dying is very much an option.
Because any other thought's gonna get you cold slab, toe-tagged, and mailed home to your mama in a plastic bag. Are we, Crystal?
And evidently so is a career in hip-hop if this police raid stuff doesn't pan out. Announcing their intentions, the family responds just as you would expect.
There's a million fucking cops! Come on. Otis, the fucking pigs are everywhere.
Tell me something I don't already fucking know.
You got to fucking do something!
With that classic Rob Zombie dialogue. Is that advertiser friendly?
Shit, fuck, shit, fuck! Shit, where the fuck is Tiny?
3 seconds, 3 shits, 3 fucks. That's some fucking shit right there. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, Mother is now played by Leslie Easterbrook because Karen Black asked for a raise. Nevertheless, they have a shootout with the police. I think. It's really damn close, and shaky camera angles make it more than a little difficult to tell just what in the fuck is going on. Either way, the only one of the family to die there is the guy covered head to toe in armor. Rufus, who also had his actor switched, now played by Tyler Mane. Guess that's why Mother felt too much camaraderie to leave him there. However, she has no intention of giving Weidell what he wants.
I'm sorry, Sheriff, but you ain't getting me.
Damn it, that means we're gonna have to deal with more Rob Zombie dialogue with this movie going forward. A fate worse than death. This means the only ones to escape the raid are Baby, still played by Sherry Moon Zombie, and Otis, still played by Bill Moseley, despite how different he looks. Escaping through some secret tunnels, no, not the ones that lead to Dr. Satan, that's not existing here, they just slip out of the sewer, into the old I'm hurt and I need help trick that turns out to be actually I need to stab you and take your car. And that does it for the opening credits. Now it's time to show what the police have found in the house.
Motherfucker.
What? You recognize the clown?
His name is Spaulding. Captain fucking Spaulding.
Played by Sid Haig, Spaulding was a relatively minor character in House of a Thousand Corpses, but here he's described as the ringleader of the Devil's Rejects and Baby's father, so considerably more important. Anyway, where is he now?
Oh, yeah, honey. Oh.
Of course, Rob Zombie movie and all. As such, he calls her a whore, and she pulls a gun on his clown ass. But it was all just a dream!
What's the matter, bad dream?
Yeah, 50-50.
Hey, he did have some fun, but then had to have the whole thing narrated by Decker Shadows. His morning's not completely ruined, though. He's got a new commercial that's going to air.
Pick up your Captain Spaulding for president.
Yes.
All shapes.
Now what the fuck is this?
I agree. I mean, sure, there was a police raid, many people died, including several police, and the meanest, baddest motherfuckers on the planet have just been released to terrorize all they find. But this is a Rob Zombie movie. How in the hell is that news? Before the news report can exposit the situation to him, the phone rings. Baby has called, saying, hey, the police raided the house and they're trying to kill us and they're coming for you too. So, yeah.
I'll meet you at the Kahiki Palms Motel just like we always planned.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll be there as soon as I possibly can, all right?
Okay, so you knew this was a risk. Spending your lives hunting and murdering innocent people might catch up with you later, and you had a lot of time to think about what to do in case that happened. And in all this time, best you could come up with was meet up at the local motel. In case you think blurting out the secret location of their meeting spot in front of a significant other was a bad idea, don't worry. Ruth, played by Juanita Guzman, is unceremoniously shoved away and disappears for the rest of the movie. While everyone makes their way to the meetup spot, we suddenly jump over to Charlie, played by Ken Foree. He runs a happy little whorehouse with such fine employees as Candy, played by Elizabeth Daly. Despite that, profits are down. Not to worry, for Candy has an idea.
I was thinking about something spacey, like that Star Wars shit.
No, this movie was set in 1978. The world wasn't blessed with Return of the Jedi in the metal bikini for 5 more years. And yeah, this is Michael Berryman, who plays Clivon, one of Charlie's less sexy employees. What does this have to do with the story? Well, Captain Spaulding calls up.
I need a place to cool out, so I'm coming down.
Fuck, man, I don't think it's such a great idea you coming around here.
I am coming down now.
I guess even Spaulding realized, yeah, our crimes are a little too extreme for this whole hideout in Motel 6 plan to work. But the Kahiki Palms Motel is where they shall meet. Them being Baby and Otis for now. But it's not like they have no one to meet. We have more characters to introduce. The traveling band sensation that is Banjo and Sullivan, with Roy Sullivan, played by Jeffrey Lewis, his wife Gloria, played by Priscilla Barnes, Wendy Banjo, played by Kate Norby, and her husband Adam, played by Lou Temple. That's not all, of course. They have their handy-dandy roadie, Jimmy, played by Brian Posehn. Most of their conversation, of course, revolves around Gloria's boobs and that little wardrobe malfunction on a mechanical bull, but after that, Jimmy says he's been thinking of becoming a rodeo clown.
You've been smoking dope.
Yeah, no, not right now.
I'm doing drugs! Later.
You spend 1 second in that pen and that bull would have his horn up your ass and sticking out your pecker.
That's exactly what I thought you'd say.
Oh shit, Jimmy doesn't come off with the sharpest tool in the shed, but even he knows how Rob Zombie movies are written. The discussion ends with Roy convincing Jimmy that he's just not cut out for the clown business, and Jimmy heading off to buy some beef jerky. However, when Roy goes to collect ice for Gloria, who should happen to show up but Baby, who proceeds to small-talk seduce the man. This must be incredibly intense, because why else would the camera be so goddamn zoomed in?
Do you kiss your mama with that mouth?
Trust me, fella, that ain't the only thing I do with this mouth.
Don't tell me that. Get some what? Say that again.
That ain't the only thing I can do with his mouth. Once the seduction meets the "my room's no good because my wife's in there" impasse, Otis shows up to do it the old-fashioned way, taking Roy by gunpoint back to his room, where they proceed to scream and point guns at everyone. I guess screaming and slamming and the occasional gunshot isn't enough to bother people in this hotel, Rob Zombie universe and all. However...
Damn it, look at that jacket!
What?
On TV!
What? Fuck the TV!
TV, fuck you!
You know, she's got a point. That jacket's probably the most disturbing thing I've seen all movie. Hearing the shower, they know there's someone else to hold hostage in this room. However, after Roy tells them that's everyone, there's a knock at the door. It's Jimmy. He's returned with the beef jerky.
Is Roy in there?
Roy's in here, alright. Come on in.
Get your ass in here, on your knees!
Roy, help!
Oh, fuck, they didn't waste any time blowing his brains out. Or, shooting him in the head, at least. That might seem exciting and impactful, but it's gonna have to wait. We gotta see how Captain Spaulding is doing. He's run out of gas. Oh, well, not a problem. There just so happens to be a handy-dandy car right here for the taking. So long as Spaulding can figure out what to do with the mother and son currently occupying it. Huh. It's kind of mild by Rob Zombie standards. Hey, put that thing in reverse and run over the bitch a couple of times. Or maybe scarring her child for life will do the trick.
If you ain't got a reason why you hate clowns, I'm gonna kill your whole fucking family.
All right, now get your fucking ass out the car.
This kind of language keeps up. This video might find itself on the trending tab. After all, nothing is more advertiser-friendly than I spit on your grave. In that spirit, Otis and Baby are passing time by toying with the hostages. How? Well, after Baby fails to get Roy to forget about that whole murder your roadie thing with the power of boobies, Otis decides to flip the script. He forces Gloria to do sexy things for him at gunpoint, which I totally would get into more detail about, but I've misplaced my dolls. That's, character building out of the way, Otis then takes Roy and Adam for a little errand. What for? Well, we don't see that just yet. First, Wydell has to interrogate Mother about her involvement in the myriad of crimes her family has committed. Kidnapping, murder, prostitution. Just nothing about that underground dungeon and Dr. Satan thing. However, she doesn't sound remorseful at all. In fact, she reminisces fondly about exactly how she killed this one way back in House of a Thousand Corpses.
His name was also Wydell. Was he kin to you?
Now, normally, personal involvement with the victims of this case would mean that you would get removed from it right quick because you can't be trusted to be too objective about things as a result. Similarly, backhanding a woman in police custody who is chained up is also a way to get you fired right quick. Normally. However, this is a Rob Zombie universe, and therefore he's probably more qualified to do it now. So this, questioning? Let's call it questioning. Well, it doesn't go anywhere, surprisingly enough. At the very least, Otis and the boys have almost reached their destination, and he's actually got a clear goal in mind.
We're gonna go dig up some guns I buried out here a couple years ago.
Then what?
Well, there ain't no what. That's the end of the road.
Well, that's lovely. Thanks for the ride and all the help with the manual labor. Guess it's murder time now. Understandably, the guys aren't really enthusiastic about the plans for this afternoon. Hell, they even grow some balls and actually fight back against the guy. While I commend things progressing logically, there is the slight issue that Adam's a scrawny piece of nothing, and Roy's days of physical prowess are well behind him. That, combined with Otis's years of experience in murdering the hell out of people, means he not only beats them both, but has time to taunt them while they die very slowly and painfully.
Fuck you! That's what they all say. Fuck you!
Well, given the cinematic universe, I'm pretty sure that's some infant's first words. Anyway, while Otis finishes off the job of killing these guys as slowly as possible as to try and be poetic about it...
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
Pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to use a dirt devil. Baby is having her own fun passing the time toying with the girls back at the motel. Wendy says she has to use the bathroom, but she's not allowed to until she strikes Gloria hard enough to satisfy Baby. Obviously, this was simply because she wanted to try and find some way to escape. But what's this? While Baby is distracted, Gloria grabs the gun and takes command of the situation.
Wendy's alright! Come on out!
Normally they say don't bring a knife to a gunfight. But then again, no one ever said anything about a bad CGI knife. Yeah, the gun had no bullets, Gloria's dead as shit, and Wendy, well, she does make a run for it, screaming and slamming on windows, but unfortunately for her, nobody seems to notice or care.
Daddy, grab that bitch!
And of course, the one person she happens to run into is Captain Spaulding. He just so happened to be right there at that very second. No one else was, and they didn't notice a damn thing. God, this woman's as unlucky as a black cat breaking a mirror under a ladder on Friday the 13th. More importantly, the police just figured out that the characters in this movie are all named after characters in Groucho Marx movies. With this revelation, they call in an expert on movies. Yeah, a film critic, Marty Walker, played by Robert Trebor.
You came to the right man. I happen to be a self-proclaimed Marx Brothers expert, if I say so myself.
Well, I'm sure your knowledge of bullshit is limitless.
And like many a movie that happens to have a film critic character, they are not depicted in the most flattering of ways. And I fucking love this scene. He's got a list of characters Groucho played, which contains all of the aliases of the Firefly household, but the critic immediately goes on a ranting frenzy about the movies Groucho worked on, the directors, the themes, and all that. It gets to a point where the cop wonders if Groucho might be in on this, which gets the critic to bemoan that they don't even know the guy's dead, which Walker blames on Elvis Presley dying 3 days earlier and stealing all the headlines. This rubs Wydell the wrong way, who will not tolerate any ill words about the king of rock and roll.
Get this Hollywood-loving pussy out of my face.
Elvis was in Hollywood!
Get the hell out of here!
His first film, Love
Get out!
was based on an Irish folk song!
You know, if I keep this up, maybe one day I too will be openly mocked in a major motion picture. That not particularly useful lead out of the way, we return to the motel to see Spaulding has washed off his face and Otis has returned with a new face. Digging up the guns by himself took a bit longer than he would have liked, but it does mean they can finally get a move on. But when they leave, they also leave all the dead people in the room for the maid to discover, as well as Wendy hanging on the back of the door all night. Now she's finally free of that nightmare, but also suddenly incredibly stupid. Yeah, I'd expect the whole ordeal to leave her more than a little exhausted, insane, and maybe not making the best decisions, but this is some serious determination she is putting into chasing down the poor cleaning lady, while not bothering to remove her dead husband's face from her own face, and let's not forget this little shining jewel of stupidity. Just run out into traffic. Exactly how out of it do you have to be to think, oh, I know, I'm gonna stop that 18-wheeler with my face? Well, I guess a scene of an accident outdoors is easier to frame the police response around rather than a cramped motel room. That way, we can see that Wydell has his own hired help to track down the Devil's Rejects. Billy Ray Snapper, played by Dallas Page, and motherfucking Danny Trejo, who plays Rondo. They get a list of names to go on, and then Wydell goes on his own journey. One back to the Firefly house, so we can see just how much of a toll this case is putting on him. For one, he's chatting it up with his dead brother, George Wydell, still played by Tom Towles.
I want these motherfuckers dead. Kill them!
To be fair, Mr. Ghost of My Dead Brother, that's their laundry list of crimes. The 70s? Texas? What are the chances these motherfuckers are gonna get arrested and not executed? But what's this? A call from Danny Trejo clues Wydell in that one of the names on the list is a former alias of one Charlie Altamont. So with that in mind, Wydell heads down to Mother's holding cell and... which again would probably raise a few red flags. Happened in the middle of the police station. Not too hard to figure out who would have done that. Well, if anyone has any issues with that, we don't see it. Instead, as Charlie is off buying some chickens, who should he happen to run into but Wydell? He wants to know anything the man can tell him about Captain Spaulding.
We out in the middle of the street. Ain't no sense of getting crazy out here. See, I don't like no motherfuckers playing dumb with me.
Which part, pretending he didn't know Captain Spaulding? Or the oh-so-convenient placement of the hand right there, just in case you want to crush it? Charlie actually doesn't even tell him anything, but Wydell gives him the ultimatum that he is to provide the Devil's Rejects tonight at midnight, or else he will die! Kinda lucky that he just so happened to have them already, as they showed up at Charlie's brothel just one scene ago. This means that all he has to do is keep them nice and boozed up so that Wydell's henchmen can raid the place, easily besting the Devil's Rejects, but not killing them. Smart as that would be, Wydell's a bit insane right now and is feeling a wee bit theatrical. Thus, he hauls their asses back to the Firefly house and proceeds to bring out all the pictures of their victims.
This is what she looked like when we pulled her out of your little fucking torture shack. She ain't so fuckable anymore, huh?
Oh, yeah, she is.
Okay, so we're not going for the misunderstood bad guy angle here. They're just crazy sadistic fucks. Alright, torture them all you like, Wydell. And he does, stapling the pictures to them. As the night goes on, Wydell gets drunker, and the torture only escalates. From cattle prods to showing off his own handiwork about how he killed Mother Firefly, and finally, it's hammer time.
Are you feeling it, brother?
Now, horror movies tend to build up the victims as unrepentant assholes, so they don't feel so bad when the slasher villain comes out and kills them. And I guess this whole time, the Devil's Rejects, well, they were just the victims. And boy, have they earned this death. With Spaulding and Otis incapacitated, Wydell decides to play a little game of cat and mouse with Baby, setting her free so she may run for her life, while he slowly follows, taunting her the whole time.
I got something here for you. Who said I smell? It smells like rabbit.
Okay, Wydell, I think I just figured out why Jason never talks, because this taunting is cringe as fuck. But what's this? Charlie has shown up in the nick of time to save the day! Except for the fact that he isn't axe-proof. Kinda screws up that rescue operation, giving Wydell all the time he needs to get Baby back. But remember Tiny? He was there in the beginning of the movie and was there for like a minute and then just disappeared and we never saw again, didn't know where he was. Apparently this whole time he's just been hiding just out of frame, ready to come in and save the day. One snapped neck later and Wydell is killed. Now Tiny can rush into the burning building to save Otis and Spaulding before the special effects take him out and lead them to the handy-dandy getaway vehicle.
You sure about this?
We'll come back for you.
But while the car might seat 4, and they are family, and there's literally no reason why he wouldn't want to be reunited with them, I have no idea what in the fuck other plans he has, he's just gonna not reunite with them. That way we can have sad, poetic music about it. With their ordeals behind them, our villains ride off to freedom! It's a pretty nice ending, honestly. The soft melodic tune of Freebird plays over the view of the wounded group, right before they end up running into a police blockade. End of the road then, quite literally. So they just say fuck it, pull out all the guns they dug up earlier, and go forth into the higher tempo parts of Freebird. It's almost enough to make you forget that these are some of the most reprehensible assholes on the planet who more than earned this death 1,000 times over. Almost. And the music abruptly stops so we can finish the movie off with the sounds of gunfire and the Devil's Rejects being brutally killed. The end. Well, that's how it ended for the first 14 years the movie was out. Free From Hell kind of retconned that a little bit, but anyway, that was The Devil's Rejects. And it's a surprisingly good Rob Zombie movie. When it comes to what people generally think about this movie, there tends to be two camps. The first one is people who found it a grim, grisly tale with tons of shock value without feeling forced, everything flowing naturally in an honestly horrifying tale. The second are folks whose idea of horror movies is pretty much exclusively fun horror, who don't understand that you're not supposed to like these assholes as anything more than characters to follow in a movie. They aren't role models, they're horror movie villains in a Rob Zombie flick. For that reason, I found myself honestly impressed with this movie. Yeah, the dialogue and themes are exactly what you'd expect, but the key to The Devil's Rejects is, surprisingly enough, the pacing. The scenes flow together not to put pieces of some mystery together or reveal anything particularly interesting, but to slowly build a feeling of dread and unease. Like the victims at the motel, there wasn't any special message to that scene, nothing major plot-wise went on, it was a meet-up spot and Otis went to dig up some guns. Despite that, it was easy to sympathize with the people they were terrorizing, and it honestly felt bad when they died. Or, well, most of them. Wendy's death was a bit too over the top and stupid to pull that off, but oh well. At the end of the day, The Devil's Rejects doesn't really follow House of a Thousand Corpses in plot or style, but instead makes its own story with a handful of characters from the previous movie. There are some less than stellar parts, it is a very simple plot, and Tiny was woefully underutilized, but aside from these gripes, it's a damn fine horror flick well worth your time if you're into darker, more disturbing sides of the genre, coming in at 4 scenes so grotesque I had to edit around them entirely, out of 5. And if you're looking for I spit on your grave levels of disturbing, then you might be disappointed, but then again, why the fuck would you be intentionally looking for that? Thank you all for watching, I've been Shado, and remember, truck versus face. Truck wins!
Groucho!